Hello, crafters. How are you this afternoon? And welcome to the P2PCrafts online craft show, which is brought to you by Picture to Page Papercraft events. We are here nurturing your creativity with in-person and online events. I'm Jenny Sekalitis, and at the P2P Craft Online Craft Show, it includes fantastic retailers and crafters who are going to be demonstrating lots of different activities, lots of different projects. We've had art journaling, card making, scrapbooking today, and lots of tips and tricks for you. Also, if you want to see what's coming up, there's one more session after this one. So just go head over to our website from picture to page and beyond.com.au. And while you're there, why not check out the online show, which is coming up in October at Sandown. Also, you can find all the information about the past events for this weekend, past online shows. You can actually see who all the sessions were about, and you can reach out to all our retailers and crafters. Also, while we're there, you can You can also sign up to our newsletter, and also when you sign up to our newsletter, you get all the updated information plus some extras that only those people in our our newsletter community receive. Now, whether you're watching live or on the replay, don't forget to put in a comment like Wendy and Tamara and Em. And we will try and answer all the questions that you have, and we always love to hear from you. And don't forget to share this with other people. Okay, so without further ado, let's welcome Michelle from Mixed Media Art. Hi, Michelle. How are you? Back again.
Hi, Jenny. Hi, crafters.
So, Michelle, this is our second session with you. What are we looking at today?
So it's so excited to be joining you because I think, as the name of my business implies, Mixed Media Art, I love all things mixed media. And one of the reasons that I started was because what's great about mixed media is you can take so many different fundamental products and use them in so many different ways. So today, while we'll be talking about art journaling, we can always apply those same skills to scrapbooking, to card making, into books. There's just so many different things you can do with them. So today I'm going to share some of my favorite Art by Marlene products, some little tips and tricks I've learnt across the way. And if we've got time, I'll create a bit of an art journal layout as well.
Oh, so exciting. I can't wait to see what you do, and eager to see all the tips and tricks you could have acquired. So are we starting here with showing things, or are we going to go down to the other camera?
Let's change the camera over and we'll jump in.
Okay, I'll let you do that. Okay, I'm sure Michelle has lots of tips and tricks for us, and also she's going to show us all the different sizes, I think, of the art journals, and what she enjoys about art journaling and mixed media art. Just have to wait for Michelle to come back. She's just about ready. And okay, so I'm just going to, you're ready? Michelle's ready now. So I'm just going to pop you over to Michelle now. You're right,
Excellent.
Michelle?
Okay, thanks everyone. It looks like we've got that in a good spot. So first off, we've talked a little bit about art journaling, so I wanted to share with you some of my favourites. So I love the Art by Marlene ones for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it comes in 3 different sizes. So if you're just starting out in card making, this is a great size because it's similar to a card front. So you're not doing anything too drastic. If you're used to scrapbooking, then the big one might be a better one for you because it gives you all that space. But I'm going to play today in the medium size one. Now it comes with one set of white pages, and they're I think it's a 240 GSM watercolor paper. So all of Marlene's journals has this same beautiful watercolor paper in it. It does have a bit of a texture to it. But the great thing about this is you can also get refills and expander packs in the craft. and in the black. So they come in packs of 20. So the black's a 300 GSM, the craft is a 300 GSM as well, all pre-punched and matching all sizes of the journal. It's a great way to be able to get some variety in. Now, another reason why I love this art journal, if I can lay it flat, is that it's ring bound. So if you want to pull out pages, you can open it up, you can pull out pages, you can let it dry, you can move them around. Although these two are friends, so we'll probably keep those two together. And then when you finish, you can put it back in. One of the frustrating things with art journaling when you're in a book is that you need to be working on more than one piece because you need to give things time to dry. But it's lovely when you can pull it out. Now, particularly here, I've put some volume paste onto that through a Vicky P stencil. And you can see just the gorgeous colours. I think these are Art by Marlene colours on the craft. Then with the stencil and the volume paste, so that's got quite a bit of texture to it. Hope that you can hear that. But you want to let that dry. You want to set it aside, and you don't want to have to close up the book. So you can take that page out and let it set aside. So these have got all sorts of different designs, team. There's some more of that volume paste over a gel printed page. So it's just so much fun to put different bits and pieces together. You can do little tip-in pages. This was the make and take that we did, I think, at Sandown and at the Peninsula Show last year. You know, so there's just so many different ways that you can bring it together using washi tapes, stamps. So let's jump into one of the activities for today.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to have an avalanche as well in a minute. Okay, so I wanted to talk about Art by Marlene paints. Now she's got 7 ranges of paint. They come in sets of 6, but they also come individually as well. So I've got mine all set in here. And one of her most recent releases was this special effects pack. Now it's got gorgeous gold-plated, silver-plated, but the black, diamond, gold, and silver has more of a glitter effect. And what I found when I did my sampling, because those you know me will always talk about, getting to know our materials, I did them on the craft in the black, and I realised, can you see that while shiny, the
Yes.
gold and the silver are quite opaque, but the glitter ones are quite glittery, but there's no real colour with them. They're just dry glittery. And I was thinking, well, how am I going to use it? It's not like it's stickles where I'm just going to sit it on one small spot. And I went, oh, it needs some colour in it. So that gave me the idea of mixing the glitter with a paint to create glittery paint. So we're going to have a play with that today and see how it goes. So, that's my page if I get to that. So before I mix the paint, I'm going to create some background papers. So for those who've been following along with our weekly updates, we've been talking about fodder school. So fodder is creating bits and pieces of collage papers so that we can then use in future collages.
Yep.
And one of the things that I love doing is creating tissue paper, and it turns out transparencies as well. So this is some of the Dina Wakley bulk tissue paper. It's plain white sheets, comes in a pack. Another tip I thought some people might find interesting, I love these bags. I always keep stuff in their original packaging, I know, but sometimes I hate it when the adhesive gets stuck on the item. So what I will do is just tuck it in so you can get the pages in and out, especially tissue paper, because it will rip if it gets stuck on that adhesive. So I've just tucked that in there. So I'm going to grab a piece of tissue. And so you can do this with printed tissue. You can do it with gift tissue as well. Any tissue paper you can find. Deli paper, though, that's a bit harder to find in Australia. And this is just a nice, tough, if I can separate it, out tissue paper. And then also, Dina Wakley has a range of transparencies. And again, a lot of them are printed, but this is the one that's just clear. And I've learnt recently that you can actually paint onto transparencies. So that is rather exciting. Now, another little tip and trick, especially when you're painting tissue paper, quite often you want to paint it and then set it aside for drying. So I've got a whole heap of these. I, again, collect all sorts of things. So this is cereal bag plastic from your cereal boxes, washed, open, dried, and then I've just wrapped it around a big envelope. Now, this is from the Stencil Girl Club. Here's another piece that must have come from some 12 by 12 cardboard. So just wrapped it with the cereal bag plastic, stuck it together with some masking tape, and we've got a surface so that we can paint on there and then set that aside. So we're not trying to pick up wet tissue paper. We're not trying to, sometimes it will seep through. So we've just got those ready to go. So let's put the transparency onto that one. I realise it's a bit hard to see because it is see-through. And then I'm going to put the tissue paper on here. Now the tissue paper, if you feel it's got sort of one smooth side and one slightly rougher side, I'm going to paint on the rougher side. Okay, so now I've got that ready to go. Because once we start mixing up paint, we want to have plenty of things to play with. Oh, the other thing I was going to talk about are these Art by Marlene brushes. Now the Art by Marlene brushes come in 3 different types and sets of 3. So we've got, might seem a little bit of overkill, but we've got a flat brush, so that's got the flat tip at the top. We've then got the angular brush, which has got the angle at the front, so it gives you a nice fine point. And then we've got these filbert ones, which is a bit of a curve on it. So they are just so much fun for painting with, for doing all sorts of bits and pieces with that I will show you today. So it's really good to have some good quality paintbrushes. Even though we're still doing craft, it just makes your life so much easier when you don't have hair falling out, when you know you can wash them, and we always give them a good rinse and wash after we're playing with them, and then reusing them for our projects. So today I'm going to be combining the Kissy, which is a gorgeous pinky red, with the gold glitter. So I'm going to do about 50-50.
So I've just got a question about how much they are, and I'm thinking it was before I think it was about the paints, but they can find that on your website, can't they, Michelle?
Absolutely. I've got a link here near the video. So it's, if you go to mixedmediaart.net and click on the online store, that'll take you across to our Shopify store. And from there, yep, just search. That's how I find things on my website, is to search for it and you'll find it all there. Fantastic. So yeah, each of the different sizes and all the different pages are a slightly different range. Okay, so you can see that. I'm going to mix the pink paint with the gold. It's a little bit hard to see like this, but that's okay. I know that it's there. Oh, I can start to see a little bit of a sparkle. So what I'm going to do is use one of these smaller brushes. Again, I'm sure an expert would say you're not really supposed to mix paint with a paintbrush. You're supposed to use a palette knife, but anyway. So what I'm going to do is just start creating some backgrounds with a thin paintbrush, but just doing some mark making. So much on there. So just start with some simple mark making. This is a great thing to do when you've got some time but you're not sure what you want to create, or sometimes even if you don't have a lot of time, because then what we're creating is our own unique background pages. So we can tear them up, we can include them in our art journaling for card making, and because we know we've created them ourselves, we know that it's going to be unique and we can make it suit our project, it can suit our occasion, we can match the paints to suit our photos, whatever it might be. Okay, so there's the start of something. Can we see the gold in there? It's probably a little bit hard to capture, but I know it's there. Yes. So
sometimes the sparkles come up better when they're dry.
Yeah, the sparkles do show a bit more. So again, I'm going to, can you see that? I've painted myself into a corner, create some really simple little stripes.
This is something you could do when you've, lost a bit of your mojo and you just want to start creating, isn't it? You can just do some.
Yeah, and just thinking about, well, what different marks can I make with a paintbrush? So we've got lines, we've got dashes, and then even just using the paintbrush. So there I was using it on the side. We could then also just use it to create little dashes. Sometimes it is hard to find the patience to just do it slowly, methodically. A bit like, I guess this is my fussy cutting. I don't like fussy cutting, but I find comfort in painting things. So there we go. And you can see just creating a bit of a pattern, not being too worried about if it's not consistent, particularly if you don't like sort of your handwriting and mark making. It can be a good way to improve the steadiness of your hand.
Yes.
And also just by having lots of them, any individual imperfections tend to sort of disappear. You don't notice them quite so much.
Yes.
Okay, what else could we do? We could always do some circles, though again, that sometimes gets a little bit trickier. You know, how much paint do you put on your brush? How much can it hold? And we just create some interesting lines. It's just such a great way. And even like if you've got a project, you might have painted some chipboard or something, and then you've got a bit more paint left over, you know, just create some funny marks and just, you know, get into practice. Understand how much paint your paintbrush holds. Know what your colours look like. Okay, so I've pretty much filled up that one, so I'm going to put it aside to dry somewhere, maybe on the floor. Don't step on it, Michelle. And then I'm going to get the transparency and do something similar. So this is the transparency from Dina Wakely. Like I said, she's got a heap of printed ones as well that you can use just as easily.
Yep.
And we're just going to do exactly the same thing. So this is great if you want to create some interesting book pages, or again, just layers in your art journal. We can cut it up. And the transparency doesn't tend to tear too well, but we can certainly cut it up.
Okay.
We can use it for layering, create for windows. So even if you're doing something like a shaker card, you could actually still paint on it. Again, that might be a bit much. Certainly, you know, gorgeous Jeanette with her beautiful cards, we probably wouldn't be doing any painting like this on it. But just doing mark making, and again, don't get too critical, don't overthink it. What happens when you hold the paintbrush tightly? What happens when you hold it a bit looser? And you can see there how a little bit of paint goes quite a long way as well. Okay. And you can see the brush strokes in it. It's just creating some really interesting backgrounds. So I'm going to leave that there. I'll pop this on the floor as well. And then let's get into our art journaling page, because that's much more interesting than watching me paint.
Fantastic.
Because I have created one here earlier as well, so we can, and this was actually a different one. This was the ballet pink with the gold. And I'm not sure, can you see bits of gold there, or is that a little bit hard? Might be too hard for the camera to pick up, but I can certainly see the flecks of gold in that, and it's just added such a nice little sparkle to it. Okay, so many times people say to me, okay, how do I start art journaling? And again, just start with the basics. We want some layers, we want to know our materials, we want to start with our archival inks, build it up, we're going to add some colour, we want to add a focal point. I've already got one of Marlene's gorgeous ladies here, all trimmed out and ready to go. So let's get started. Let's find some ink. Now we've used the pinks. So we've got some pink inks here. And again, these are all archival, so we know once we put them down, they won't move. I'm wondering if it's going to be a little bit light. So I might even go with the plum, so more of a maroon. So not quite a sepia, a bit more of a plum. We'll find a stamping block. We'll find, now we've got heaps of Art by Marlene sets. I'm not sure if we've got this exact one. Pop it onto a stamp block. I know some mixed media artists don't tend to use stamp blocks. I certainly tend to. I just, again, I come to art journaling from stamping, so I tend to use blocks.
Depends on what you're doing, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I don't know if that's going to stick. Okay, well, we might be using not a block because it's not going to stick.
That will using it now.
Okay. Now we're going to use it, exactly. So we got one, we got two. And again, we know this raw craft paper can be quite absorbent, so we're not going to get quite as many impressions out of a single inking. And again, we want to think about composition. We want to make sure we're going over the edge so it creates interest. We're not just doing a card where we keep it all to the middle. And I'm looking at sort of, you know, creating a bit of a horizon around that middle. So just adding a little bit of interest. Okay, I think it's going to need a little bit more further down to help anchor it. Okay. So we've got some stamping. Like I said, then we're going to add, I was going to add some stenciling, but I don't think I grabbed any stencils, so there may not be much stenciling. Oh well, not to worry, we can add some more stamping. So again, there's lots of fun little shapes like this that will just allow us to add some hints of colour. Now I can also see she's got a red dress with some blue, so you know, pinks and maroons and purples might be a good colour combination for this one. And again, I want to think about the composition. So as Mel said in her session, starting at one point and building out from there. And of course, the other tip is to think about the odd numbers. So do we want 3? Sometimes I'll do 3 and say, oh, that's not really enough, I'll need 5. So adding 1 there, and then perhaps 1 up here. So again, just starting to build up some layers. You know, we can continue to look at our piece and go, is that what we need? Do we need something else? We can always set that aside. What else have we got to play with? So we could always add a little bit of paint. Where did I put the paint? There's the paint. Ooh. Okay. I really think we need a few more bits and pieces. But I think that's going to be a good spot for her. And again, it doesn't have to be complex. We could keep it nice and simple. So she's got the blue. She's also got some of this light green. So what have I got that I could add that's sort of light green? Marlene's got a fantastic range of fluoro paints as well, but maybe, you know, fluoro on craft is probably asking for trouble. There's a bit of green there, so maybe we could this. We don't want to add too much at this point. We just want to be conscious of how we just add a few different sorts of mark making. So I'm just going to use the very tip of this angled brush and then just pop some marks in. So just a few little spots like that. And I really want to not take my design too far away from what I've already got, but making sure I'm just adding that little bit of interest. Oh, that almost looked like a butterfly. And again, we've got the 3 lots there, so I think I will stop there. Okay, then we need to add our, oops, let's not get the paintbrush everywhere. Then we're going to add our focal point down. So we've talked before about composition. So I've got this line across the middle. I've created a bit of a horizon. Then we can audition our lady. So I've trimmed this a little bit to make sure we've got all the edges off. Of course, the other thing I'd like to do is edge it a little bit. And since I didn't use the sepia, I might just do that with the maroon. So again, I'm trying not to introduce any new colours here. I think black would probably be too harsh. So just adding in a little colours that are already in the background. You know, that can be the challenge with art journaling. Sometimes you get a really good idea, but if your idea is too different from where you currently are, you can sometimes get yourself into a bit of strife. So sometimes you're better off saving that idea for a different time, but other times you want to be brave. So again, there's no rules in art journaling, only guidelines. So again, we're using the archival ink, so I know that it won't run as I get the gel medium onto it. Now we had a bit of a chat about different adhesives this weekend. This is my absolute favourite. It's the Crafters Workshop Matte Gel Medium. It dries matte, so you won't see it. It marked a little bit on the craft, but not so bad. And it's just leaves such a lovely finish, a lovely texture to it, and it doesn't look shiny, which can be important if you don't have a shiny background. So this is one of my favourite little chippy brushes. Let me grab some scrap paper. So normally I would just collage onto the background, but since this is craft, I don't want to get too carried away because I'm worried it is going to make it a little bit darker. So it's sitting our lady onto here. And then particularly if you're doing tissue paper or something else, you might want to just consider, you know, putting a bit on top, because then that puts that level of dampness of water on both sides and it really helps. That's right, I was going to use my other piece of paper.
I was going to say something, Michelle, but I
created.
thought maybe you changed your mind.
Yeah, well, I hadn't changed mine. I just hadn't thought about it. So, okay, let's what can I do? So what we can do is I want to tear it, but I don't want to just tear it randomly. So I'm going to use a wet paintbrush to just create some simple lines down here. So I can tear off a strip without, with a bit more control than if I was just tearing it. So you can see that's soaking in there. It makes it so much easier to tear. It works for tissue and it works for rice paper as well. So it just means that you're not, this paper does tear much better in one direction than the other. This is obviously not the direction it likes to tear in. This needs quite a bit of water to help it off. And again, that's okay. I'm just looking for a few little pieces to add to my collage. There we go. And the great thing about using that water is you've got lovely little edges that are so much easier to feather into your artwork. Now this has got the edge that I don't like, so we'll just pull that off. You can see it tears much easier that way than the other way. Okay, so I've got my little pinky things. I'm wondering, can I lift her up? Yeah, maybe not. Okay, so again, a little bit of gel medium down, popping our tissue paper, starting from the middle, working out. And again, this has got quite a white background with a dark, so we know it's not going to blend in quite as well as we would expect. And we're going to anchor it off our lovely lady here.
A couple
There
more
we
minutes.
Go. Okay, thanks, Jenny. So when this is dry, I can also go back and do a bit more stamping over the top of it to help integrate it. Make sure I get that brush into water. Now, one of the other things I really wanted to have a play with is the gorgeous Marlene rub-ons. We've got alphabets. It's got 5 different alphabets and some sayings. And it's such an easy way to add some interest to your page because you can choose your own words. You're not limited to what anyone else is doing. So let's pull this out and have a look at the different fonts. Let's see what matches. Crazy random font. Oh, something's a bit more serious. Looks like a random note. We've got cute little ones. Oh, a bit small. Oh, we got those ones. Or those ones. I think this one might suit this layout. Sort of a bit quirky. Now it feels like she's saying, let's do something simple. Let's do perhaps yes. So you can easily cut these letters out. The great thing is as well, I like leaving the backing on so that we can move them around a little bit so that we're not necessarily limited to, now where do we want to put this? Well, we don't have to decide yet. We can just stick it on anywhere. And also when we do letters, we want to be more of the spacing of the letters as well. When you look at different type fonts, a letter isn't have exactly the same spot. Like we know that the E would tuck in under the Y, a capital Y a little bit. And if you start having a close look at fonts, you'll see that spacing does vary depending on the letters. So sometimes we want to be mindful of that. If you want it to be centered, you might need to start from the middle letter and work your way out. That was the lowercase one. Okay, now because these aren't the same size, I'm going to make sure we do it a little bit goofy so that it doesn't look wrong because I can see these letters aren't the same size. They're not going to line up. Okay, so we're going to pop it here somewhere. Got my little application tool. So again, let's start in the middle. Give it a nice firm rub. And there's another great reason why we've got this page out of the art journal, so it doesn't matter. We can give it a good rub and it's not going to impact the other pages. So there we go. And I just love these rub-ons because you don't have all the extra bits hanging around it. You can see your backgrounds of your art journals. You're not losing any of that gorgeous texture and stuff that you've already put down. And there's no reason why you can't mix and match your alphabets as well. So you can go for something really crazy.
Funky.
Again, just giving that a press with the back of my fingers. There we go. And I want, there's an exclamation mark there. Have I got time for an exclamation mark? So once it's dry, there's a few more things I'll be adding, getting out the black and gel pens, creating a bit of a base for her. So you can see there how that's sitting on top, but it's just not hiding any of that gorgeousness. So I hope that's given you a few ideas. Look at a really good quality art journal. One that you can take pages out can be quite helpful. We've got some stamping. We could easily add some more stenciling. We've got some mark making. We've done some mark making on tissue paper. We've done some mark making on transparencies. We've added a font and then a simple word there. And then all I'd come back and add is a little bit of a grounding for her to keep her there. And then maybe even just a tiny bit of shadow with a water-soluble pencil or like a scribble stick. So we could just add it in and really soften it as well, because shadowing is really what takes your craft to an art. So that is my little demonstration for today.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Michelle. I'll get you to change your camera back and we'll come back to you, okay?
Okay.
Hi and welcome.
Sorry about that. Okay. Well, that was really interesting. Michelle had lots of tips and tricks for us there, and painting, mixing the paints was really interesting. So, there's so much in art journaling and scrapbooking and that you can, you know, give other people give you inspiration and ideas. I'm just going to get, and Michelle's going to be back with us. Oops, she's in the green room. Okay, I'm just going to go over to Michelle. There we go, Michelle.
Hi, and I forgot to mention we've got a special for this weekend right through to next weekend. We have 20% off all of our Art by Marlene and our 49 and Market range. So head over to our website, mixedmediaart.net, click on the online shopping, and we ship across Australia, and they will definitely be going out this week. So it's a fantastic opportunity to get 20% off your journaling, off your Marlene paints, off the stamps, off the stencils, off the whole range. So there's a lot there to choose from.
Fantastic. It was a great little page. We can't wait to see the finished product when you're. Yeah.
Yes, me neither.
Okay. Anything else you want to share with us, Michelle?
So hopefully, this session is just give you a bit of an inspiration to try something a little bit different, even if you are more of a card maker, considering how art journaling might fill a hole in your creative needs, and just have a play with your products, layer them up. If you don't like it, ask yourself why. Is it the composition? Is it the colors? Do you need more education? Do you need to go to a class? Of course, share it with our Papercraft posse so that we can all help out if you're looking for help as well. And we are looking forward to catching you up with everyone at the next show.
Fantastic. All right. Thanks for Michelle, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye for now.
That was excellent demonstration by Michelle from Mixed Media Art. We'd like to thank her, and talking about composition and mixing the. Mixing the paint with the paint glitter is. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong camera. Is a great idea. What else did we use with Michelle? She used the tissue paper, painting on the tissue paper, painting on transparencies. Such good ideas, and being able to add them to your art journal page or your card making or scrapbooking. Anyway, I'd like to thank Michelle for joining us, and I'd also like to thank you for joining us for this session and for today as well. Please leave your comments, any comments or questions you have for Michelle in the comments section, and we'd like you, if you want to see what's coming up next, go to the Picture to Page website, which is from from Picture to Page and beyond.com.au. Okay, you can go there and get about all the sessions that we've passed and the one coming up, and also our online shows. That's all for me for this session, and we'll see you at the next session. Thank you. Bye for now from me.